Well, this is Ron Sloan from Friday the 13th, Part 5, and you're listening to Don't Go Out There podcast. Talk to you soon.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast. We are joined today by Mr. Ron Sloan, notable Friday the 13th alumni. You've seen him first in Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, Deborah Voorhees' 13 Fanboy, and also in several Womp Stomp films such as Never Hike Alone, The Ghost Cut, Dylan's New Nightmare, and Never Hike Alone 2. Ron, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing, sir?
Well, I'm doing good, actually. Well, it's a little warm in this end of the world. I was just down in Phoenix today. Oh, it was just 110 or 11, something like that, This weekend, though, is Mad Monster Party, where I'll be with Cecil Laird and Vince DeSante, because Dylan's New Nightmare has the Blu-ray that just came out. So, family home week. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I need that Blu-ray.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, and I'm in Florida by the Pensacola area, so it was 116 in my car the other day. I mean, it's not 116 outside, but it feels like it. It's hot, so I get that.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a little toasty.
So just to kind of get everything started off, Mr. Sloan, we appreciate you coming on. We always like to start off all of our interviews by just, asking what got you into acting. I mean, was this always a dream of yours growing up?
Oh, hell no. I was lazy. No, seriously. It's being lazy. Acting in school fulfilled an English requirement. I found it easier to get up in front of people than to write a paper, for example. So I thought, wow, if this fulfills it, let's just go for this. And that's how it got started. No one told me it'd be a very difficult career. But yeah, that's how I got into it. Just being lazy.
Hey, that's fantastic. Some things were just meant to be. All right, so you've worked a lot of film, a lot of television. Before we get into Friday the 13th, we kind of like to always also ask, what's the differences to you between working in movies and television? I mean, I see that you've made several TV appearances, such as Inside, The Facts of Life, Tales from the Dark Side, The Oldest Rookie. What are the differences to you, and do you have a preference in working between one or the other?
Well, work is work, man. As an actor,
Yeah.
you're happy to get whatever gig you could get. In the old days, 70s and 80s, yeah, that was real exciting. I don't care if the part was microscopic, man. You did it. You're up there, and
Right.
it was fun. I mean, doing sitcoms were incredible. I mean, just the laughter and comedy's tough. People think comedy's easy. No, it's hard. I think it's either you got it or you don't.
Right.
And graduating into film, to me, is wonderful. I feel film isn't limiting. You can go where you want with it. Your character you have a lot of free reign. Where when you do on a TV show, it's really written for kind of a cubicle. You're this character, and that's how your auditions go too. So I think you just have a bigger opportunity to grow your character, unless you were a series regular or something like that.
Right. Oh, okay. Do you have a preference between one or the other? I mean, did you like film or television more than the other, or just
Oh,
like
no,
you said,
no.
work
I
is
mean,
work?
it's two different ball games.
Mhm.
It's like watching baseball and football.
Yeah, that's
Both
true.
are
Right.
really rewarding, and one you really get the crap beat out of you, and the other you could be a star.
Right.
No, I love film. Film just has that. Look, if you make in either media, you make a boo boo, you can shoot it again. Theater is unforgiving. Theater, you make a boo boo, it's a boo boo for life.
Right.
So TV, I mean, they're both great. just, I mean, no complaints. I'd be happy in either.
Right. Well, speaking of being a star, we've got to ask you. I know you're probably sick and tired of talking about it, but tell us some about Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. How did you get that role? How did that come to be?
Well, I was a very uh, dedicated actor at that point. I did showcases. Actually, that when I got discovered, it was at the Fountain Theater in Hollywood. So every week, I would pay my $12 to do a 5-minute scene, and it was actually a dramatic scene. I can't remember from what show it was from or what movie, but it was hardcore drama. And that night, Fern Champion and Pamela Basker, the casting directors on the movie Repetition, were in the audience. And after doing my little scene, they asked me if I could play a hillbilly. So, of course I'm going to say yes. No, I can't. Sorry. Um, so I thought of a friend of my brother's who was just this goofy idiot, and I just kind of made him tenfold. And they're cracking up pretty good. And they said, "Well, we'd like you to come by the office tomorrow and pick up sides for a movie called Repetition." So
Okay.
I was all excited. Went to their office, got the sides, went home, started studying, and I think it was about 2 days later, they called me up to set up an audition. And so that was cool. And I mean, went to their door, walked in and met them and met Danny Steinman, the director. And he directed me actually in my audition. And it was pretty
Okay.
cool. And I had him just rolling in the aisles. I mean, it was just so much fun. Of course, I was nervous as hell,
Right.
but you just kind of let things go. And when you have a character, this is what's fun about whether it's movie or TV. When you have a character that's bigger than life, you just no holds barred. You just go for it. It wasn't limiting. So he laughed his ass off, literally, and um, as I left, wondering how I did. He said, "Hey, kid, it's going to be great working with you." Well, I
Nice.
mean, my little mind, and I went, "Wait, reel it in, reel it in." Of course, Fern and Pamela kind of reeled it in for me and said, "Well, you got to call back tomorrow to meet Frank Mancuso Jr. He's the producer on this film." So, hey, I was all excited, went home, studied some more, just kind of figure out what could I do to kind of change things up. And as I walked in the audition, Danny said to Frank, "Hey, this is the kid I told you about. I'm going to love working with him." Wow, man. I mean, already my heart's like, yeah.
Right.
And, but reel it in, reel it in. And the audition, of course, went well. And, it was about 2 days later that they told me I got the part. So
When
that
did
was
they tell
pretty.
you that it was Friday the 13th?
They didn't
Oh,
actually
never. Okay.
until the first day of shooting. We're all on the set. I'm sitting with Miguel Nunez and uh, uh, let's see who else. Well, Miguel and I were sitting next to each other. Oh, and of course Carol Locketel. We're all sitting shooting the shit. How do you die? And Miguel's all, "Oh, I get a spear in the outhouse." And I'm like, "Well, I get decapitated." And Carol's like, "Well, I'm not totally sure, but I know I'm making stew." I mean, we're just having this stupid, funny conversation.
Right.
And just then, Tom Morga, who played he was the stunt man, Jason, great guy, by the way, walks by in full costume, mask and a cleaver, and looks at every single one of us. And all of a sudden, all of us go, "Oh man, we're in a Friday the 13th." Where everybody's going crazy. The whole
Nice.
place was buzzing. It's one thing to be, have a fun role in a film, but to actually be at that point in a good movie, That was
Hey.
pretty damn exciting.
So did you and Miguel share any enchiladas or?
Well, you know, he wanted to eat my stew, but Ethel wouldn't let him
Ah, yeah.
unless he cleaned the chicken coop. Uh, Miguel was a nice guy. He was a good guy. Uh, Mark Bitterini, who played Vic, we're sort of buddies uh, on the shoot. I used to work in a casting facility. I was a cameraman. I shot the screen tests. I shot auditions. And Mark used to audition a lot for me and John Robert Dixon. Uh, uh, we were pretty good buddies too. He auditioned a lot, so it was kind of old home week seeing all these guys,
Cool.
and that it was nice having a comfort zone.
Yeah, Ron, you mentioned previously, the character of Ethel and working alongside Carol Locatell. She sadly passed away in 2023. How was it to work so closely with her? She was all of one of our favorite characters after watching the movie and talking about it. So you can't watch that movie and forget Ethel. She's a very important piece of that film. How was it to work with her?
Oh my God, that was a blessing. What a lot of people don't know is Carol was a Broadway actress. I mean, this woman could act. This woman, it wasn't like a fluke or anything. And also, um, she was on television. She did different TV series. She was on MASH. It was so funny. She was telling me a story. She was on The Flying Nun. That was her first ever television show. And she's from Broadway. So here she came out, she did her scene and went back to her trailer. What she didn't know is, well, they got to cover it in like 4 or 5 different angles, and thought it was like a play where you do your thing and you're gone. And they had to go get her, going, whoa, wait, Carol, you're not done yet.
That's great.
It was pretty cool. But yeah, I'm fortunate to have Carol not only as a wonderful actress to work with, but we developed just a very beautiful friendship, a real bond. Her and her husband would have me over for dinner, and I mean, I was sending her cards on Mother's Day and made sure I called her. And we talked a couple times a year, and also saw each other at conventions. And actually, in my little office here, I'm surrounded by memorabilia. I look at a picture of Carol and myself together up on the wall.
That's awesome.
I got Ethel stew behind me. I don't know if you can see it. Can of Ethel stew right there, and little miniature. These are just things when I'm at a convention. It's just amazing what people give me as gifts and little, it's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's also the biggest pot of soup I have ever seen, and and I mention that every time I see the movie. That is a massive pot on that stove.
You don't even want to know what's in that. I didn't want to know what's in it.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
There was,
Fans of
they took a base of Campbell's chicken noodle soup, but added a bunch of mystery meat and all sorts of weird stuff. And it was ice cold. It's not like you're eating this hot delicious on a cold day. No, I don't know, whatever this was, I couldn't get it out of my mouth fast enough. And actually, I utilized that idea and spit it out while shooting my scene. Like, that's how Junior was.
Absolutely. I said I did not want to taste that soup. I'm not saying that it looked bad, but it kind of looked bad. I'm not. It looked like it wasn't the best soup that Ethel was making.
It didn't look appetizing. Yeah.
Yes. So, Mr. Sloan, fans of the franchise and horror fans in general can
call me Ron.
Oh, Ron, I got you, Ron.
They can say.
Hey, I hear that a lot, and I share the same name with my dad, so I get that. Fans of the franchise can say whatever they want about A New Beginning, but I personally, and I think we all feel the same, think it has some of the best side characters just in the franchise in general. You kind of talked a little bit about working with a lot of these people already. You have any more fun set stories, any more fun memories of working on the set with those characters?
Well, I mean, a lot of the scenes were private. So, like, I mean, I watched Miguel's scene because it was shot the same night my scene was shot, where I had the fight with John Shepard. So it was kind of kitty corner to that. So I was able to watch Miguel's scene. That was pretty cool. Um, well, I mean, whether it's funny or not, my fight scene with John Shepard, um, I got the crap beat out of me. You know, some of that wasn't acting, guys. Um,
Oh, jeez.
Dick Warlock, who was the stunt coordinator, trained John and I to have our little stage fighting. And Dick, I'll say, accidentally connected with me and actually knocked me on the ground, and I saw stars. And um, John Shepard, I guess, just kind of copied him. I literally got knocked, and I got hit pretty hard, and so yeah, there was no hazard pay for that. The funny thing was, I saw Dick Warlock last year at a convention, and I go, you know, Dick, I have a bone to pick with you, man. You actually hit me when shooting Friday the 13th Part 5. And he goes, I did not. And I go, oh, yeah, you did, but don't worry about it. It's okay. I've forgiven you. And I had this head on my table. And Dick goes and he grabs the head. He goes, I'm going to hit you again. He goes, oh, no, that's right. I already did it. And I mean, we both laughed, and it was just a funny moment. But yeah, that was something to look back on that was interesting.
So, switching gears just a little, since 2020, you've worked with Vincent DeSanti 3 times at Womp Stomp Films. Now, we all think that he's made some great Friday films in general, not just fan films. They're top notch. He's a brilliant mind, and I'm curious, how was it to work with him and his team?
Well, I mean, what's beautiful about it is, I mean, Vincent, he's a pro. I mean, he's a pro.
Right.
And I was actually quite fortunate because I was shooting 13 Fanboy in Ruidoso, New Mexico, which got to send out a prayer out to those guys.
Right.
I mean, that little town, wow. And I didn't know Vince at the time. And so we were talking everything, and this was a few years ago, and he said, hey, man, after working, I worked about 9 days straight on that film. He approached me after shooting, and he said, hey, I have a part in a film I would like you to play, or at least kind of send you a script and consider it. And I was, well, sure. Well, it was a little while later, and it was Dylan's New Nightmare. And man, for being a quote unquote fan film, it's far from a little,
Far.
very far. What's interesting, Ben Meredith, who is the cinematographer on 13 Fanboy, and he's brilliant, brilliant. I was so thrilled that when I came on to the set down in Phoenix, it was shot at Sun Studios. There's Ben and there's Vince. And I mean, I'm like, oh, old home week. You know, that's how the horror family is. You know, especially when you're in something that's quality, that just takes it to the next level. And working with Miko Hughes, Miko, what a great guy. I mean, you know, I'm very fortunate to work with top actors. I've had a few gigs in the past where the acting was questionable, and you don't want to think about that. I never dish another actor. I just try to do what I do, and hopefully, whatever I do inspires them to take it to the next level. Working with Dee Wallace, that definitely took me to the next level.
Right.
She
Yeah.
is
She's
just such a pro,
she's great. Yeah.
and you know, it was I had so much fun with Dee, and it was funny because a couple of weeks ago I was in Calgary for Calgary Horror Con. And I get into this, one of those huge 18-passenger limousines, and there's Dee, and I hadn't seen her since 13 Fanboy, and we're like, oh my God, you know? That's when you know you've made that family connection. So, and I'm going to be seeing her in 2 weeks in Motor City Nightmares. I know she's there, so that's good stuff, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. So you mentioned 2023's Dylan's New Nightmares, where you worked alongside Miko Hughes. How was it leaving the Friday franchise and joining the Freddy universe?
Well, you know what's fun about that? When and I'm going to experience it this Saturday again, um, is when I'm doing my Friday the 13th conventions, and people are walking by, like say, waiting in line for somebody from Nightmare on Elm Street, something like that. I'll be yelling out, "Come on over, cross over to the other side." You know, I have so much fun, you know, doing that. I did the same thing at Mad Monster Party a couple years ago when I was promoting Dylan's New Nightmare to other folks, and it's just fun. You know, it's all a family. It's all a family. So, and I had that feeling, that experience, actually just in this last con at Calgary, Alberta, sitting with all these different stars in this stretched limo, all from all different horror films. You know, there was that connection. I mean, we're all just chattering away and having fun. And a couple people I connected with in here since getting home, I've had, you know, instant messages and, oh yeah, hey, looking forward to getting together and things like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, speaking of that horror family and all the legends of the genre, in 2021, you joined up with fellow castmate Deborah Voorhees in 13 Fanboy. We had her on to promo it, and wow, just what a cast of not only Friday alumni but horror legends in general: Dee Wallace, Corey Feldman, Kane Hodder, C.J. Graham, Judy Aronson, Lar Park Lincoln, Deborah Voorhees, Tracy Savage. I mean, how was it getting the campers back together to make that film?
Well, first of all, Deborah and I have stayed pretty close because of the convention circuit. I didn't know Deborah when we shot part 5, but a few years back, well, I think my first convention was about 20 years ago in Texas, but about 7 years ago or so, I was in Columbus, Ohio, and Deb was there. And she goes, "Hey, do you want to take a walk before doing the convention?" Oh, sure. So there was this like little lake by the convention. Well, Deborah likes cardio. So to me, I was thinking, a little walk, you know? Oh no, she goes for it. So we're huffing and puffing, walking around this lake. And she goes, I wrote a small part in a film for you. I'd be honored if you'd play it. Well, sure. Well, I hadn't heard anything from her for about a year and a half after that. And then I get a script emailed to me. And at that time, I was on 26 pages of 100-page script. And I was like, and I called her, I said, "I'm not complaining. You said a little part." And she goes, "Well, the more I got to know you, the bigger your part grew." So that was pretty damn cool. And there are a good handful of scenes that are not in the film. Some of them actually are on my IMDb page. There are a few of the outtakes where I had some very sweet, loving scenes with Dee Wallace. I mean, there was this really good relationship stuff, but they decided not to have the warm fuzzies in 13 Fanboy. Matter of fact, after we saw the screening in LA, My wife turned to me, she goes, God, you were such an ass in that film. Well, I don't believe my wife. That could be part of it. um, but I even told her, I go, you rehearsed these scenes with me. You know that there was a soft side. But, that's how it works.
Absolutely. And so I have to circle back because I've been thinking about it while we're talking here. You mentioned, we talked about Dylan's New Nightmare working with Miko Hughes. Not many people have ever donned the Freddy Krueger full getup outside of Robert Englund. How was it to work with someone like Dave McRae? Not a lot of acting in front of the camera experience, but great voice actor in his own right. How was it to work with Dave?
Well, I mean, that was a blessing in itself because, first of all, Dave, he's an amazing actor. I mean, plus the makeup, Nora Hewitt, hello. I mean, that's as good as it gets. I mean, just the whole combo. Um, I have a scene in Dylan's near the end of my vignette there where I am, at least my voice, I am turning into Freddy. I end up throwing a table which blocks camera, and there's Freddy. Well, so my voice initially had to be Freddy, and so Dave and I had to do this whole cadence thing where, we had to pace it out exactly so he could do. It was cool. And Dave, I mean, he's golden, just golden. And if it ever came a time that Robert wasn't doing it anymore, or there are, I think Dave has a shot at the title because he's amazing.
Absolutely. Ron, when you and I first started chatting, about you coming on the show, you said you were on the way to Calgary for a horror convention like you brought up. We always like to ask our guests who do conventions, what's your favorite convention memory? And it can be funny, weird, sentimental, anything like that. What's your favorite convention moment? I've been choked by Kane Hodder. That was pretty cool. What's your favorite convention memory?
Well, that's an interesting, there's a couple of them. Well, sometimes people share, the first time they saw part 5 and things like that. Well, this wasn't too long ago. A guy came up to me and he goes, your part in Friday the 13th Part 5 was the first scene I've ever saw in a horror film. He goes, I happened to walk in on my parents having sex, and you were on the screen screaming. And then I looked at my parents, and I was screaming, and we all were screaming.
Wow.
The parents were screaming, I was screaming, and he screamed. I was busting up. I was in tears, man. I thought that's a memory of me.
That's fantastic.
Wow. Okay. That's good.
Yeah, that would do it. That was pretty good. And I guess the weirdest was at my very first convention. I'm standing in a parking lot after the convention. My wife was coming out to meet me, and a guy walks up to me and he goes, "Hey man, wouldn't it be cool if you died in real life the way you died in your movie?" Hey, you know what? Have a nice day, man. You take care. I'm like, just get me out of here. That was a little twisted and bizarre.
Very twisted.
Yeah, they can't all be good ones,
Fanboy.
That's weird.
Good Lord, people are crazy.
Oh yeah. But those two stand out the most.
All right, Ron, we really appreciate your time. Is there anything you're working on that you'd like to plug? You want to shout out your social medias if any of the fans want to follow you, keep up with you?
Well, like I mentioned, this weekend I'm at Mad Monster just on Saturday promoting the Blu-ray of Dylan's New Nightmare. So looking forward to being with the boys again. And the following weekend of the 24th, 25th, of July, I'm at Motor City Nightmares. I've never been out there. That sounds like a lot of fun in D Wallace. Oh my God, here we go. I think there's going to be a good dinner that evening. Um, and then you guys probably know about Crystal Lake Nightmares, LAX.
Yeah, I would love to go. There's so many people going to be.
45 years of Friday the
I
13th.
wish it wasn't so far away. I agree. That does look
Oh
good.
yeah, that's gonna be a good one. And then I'm at Tidewater, Virginia. God, I'm busy. Jeez. No, it's like that's the 40 years of Friday the 13th. And um, I do have a film. We'll see. Again, it was Calgary generated. There's a producer and a director up there. You might have seen a promo I did. It's called Until There's One, yeah, Until There's One. And this company's doing the Guinness Book of World Record, the most kills in a horror film, which
Wow.
is 300 kills. So they asked me to be a killer and a killee. And so we'll see. At this point, I did a promo for them, and sounds interesting and fun and crazy. Everybody who's in it gets a certificate from the Guinness Book of World Record. Um,
Nice.
yeah, we'll see. As soon as I see a script and more of the particulars, and it
Right, that'd be
shoots
cool though. That's cool.
in Canada. Yeah, no, I think it'll be awesome. But I got to see it. I'll be talking to them this week. I got to see it at the next level because people are contacting me on it, and I wish I could say more about it. I don't know everything about it. Um, but I know I did post it on Facebook under my page, a link to finding out more information. It's a lot of these shows like 13 Fanboy and Dylan's New Nightmare. You raise funds by, some actors pay to be on a show, some are paid. You want a producer credit, you want, 13 Fanboy, your name in the movie was $13, that sort of thing. But they raised enough money to shoot it. So that's pretty amazing in itself. And yeah, no complaints. Any other questions, boys?
I got something I want to ask if you don't mind answering it. Besides your Friday the 13th movie, what's your favorite other entry in the franchise?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I'll tell you mine just to ease the tension. I like Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. That's the first one I ever saw as a kid. It stuck with me. I love CJ's portrayal, so that one will always be my favorite Friday the 13th movie.
Well, first of all, CJ and I are good friends. He's a great guy. I mean, just I was lucky enough to get to know him on 13 Fanboy because we had a couple scenes shot at the same time, none together, but shot at the same time. So we got to sit in and chat. That when I think of the very first Friday the 13th, of course, that sticks in my head because that at that point was the only one I had seen. That I never continued for really quite some time. Um, so, yeah, that's a tough one. I'm a sci-fi guy. I was always a sci-fi guy. I mean, to me, aliens, that had me on the edge of my seat because that could be real, and I was very fortunate enough to go to the director's screening of it. So there's no
Wow.
popcorn being munched. There's no drinks being sucked on. You're sitting there in a big lounge chair, and everybody's screaming and jumping.
Awesome. I
You
love
know.
that.